Hey everyone, today we're going to make a high school resume from scratch. The first thing I did is go to docs.google.com, and then they do have some templates. I want to go through the templates they have for resumes and tell you some of the pros and cons I see with them before I get started. The only real benefit to this template is that it wastes space. This is not usually a benefit, but if you are starting with your first resume ever and you don't have as much experience, you can make the whole page look filled in a professional way. Next, what I don't like about this template is mainly the fonts and colors, and also the fact that I always recommend your name being at the very top. This one is a little bit better than this one because even though it's still 2 columns, it makes use of the second column space. What I don't like about this template is that you're putting your experience at the same level as some of the more secondary items like your skills and awards. It's not a big deal, and some people actually prefer the look of this. I'm going to use this one in this activity. What I like about it, name is first. I don't recommend skills first. Actually, if you're in high school, I recommend education first. And if anyone's wondering what the heck lorem ipsum all this stuff means, it means nothing. It's just filler text that people commonly use to show how the text is going to look like. Remove the green bar. I really like centering the name, and I'm not a big fan of how much space we're losing, so I'm gonna move this margin over. Let's center this as well. I don't think you're gonna need this in high school, your title. I actually don't have one either. I highly recommend, unless it's 100% required, that you don't ever put your street address. It's a huge privacy issue. You never know where your resume is gonna end up. So remove that. If you want people to know roughly where you're located, just keep your city and state. Where your high school is located is gonna give away where you live. So you might even find that instead of putting your city, you put a LinkedIn. I like to save space by putting the LinkedIn phone number and email address all in one line. But remember, if you're having trouble filling your resume, you can always do 1 line each. A lot of these formatting tips are more to save you from going on to a second page. Name of high school. If you make this italicized, it's just assumed it's in the future that it's expected. So you don't have to say expected graduation, all that stuff. I usually recommend just 1 decimal on the GPA, but if it's really important to you, you can add another one. Also, notice how all these fonts are different. Just let it be for now. Don't even worry about formatting until the very, very end when all your content is there. Otherwise, you're gonna reformat so many times. The type of information you want to add to your education section are things like AP classes, honor roll, awards, stuff like that. Now let's go to experience. So here's the order in which you want to put experience. First, you want to put a job that gives you an actual W-2. It's like official employment. The next is you want to put anything where you're making money, maybe not like super official like a dog walker or a babysitter maybe. And then the third is stuff you're not getting paid for, but that's giving you useful experience. Stuff like volunteering, maybe you tutor for free. It doesn't matter whether you get money or not. What people really care about is that you're getting the skills. So you're probably thinking like, yeah, I babysit, but what about that is important enough to put in a resume? So let's use that as an example. Company name and location, you don't really have to put that. So if you're a babysitter who just puts on like Frozen on repeat, you're not going to have that much to work with. But if you're the babysitter who comes up with activities to do with the kids, you actually teach them or you do your homework with them, all those things can add to it. First, don't think about writing the bullet. Just think about answering what's hard about the job. Okay, so maybe discipline, the kid's not listening, filling time with fun stuff to do. That will get your brain going, and then you can come up with actual bullets. So you can say stuff like responsible for maintaining behavioral of 3 children aged 5 to 12. That immediately shows me what you're dealing with. That's not a very easy thing to do. So I immediately start to think that, oh, you can handle a lot of things going on at once, and that you do have some skills that can translate over to, for example, customer service. Create educational activities to to teach science concepts. Obviously, don't lie if you don't do this, but if you do something that teaches them something more than they would know otherwise, it's so useful to add that in. Ideally, you want to go for about 3 bullets per piece of experience. It's fine if you have 2 or 4, but just 1 or more than 4 gets a little uneven. So let's think of a third item for a babysitter. Okay, so when you've run out of like activities that you do with people or what you do while you're babysitting and you need another bullet, you can go towards the type of feedback you get for being in your job. If the parents are constantly praising you for being so great with the children, that's a really good bullet to add. You might say something like, receive positive recognition and referrals from 4 different clients. When I see that, the fact that someone else thinks you did a good job and not just you thinking you did a good job, that is really impressive. Okay, so now we can remove our little brainstorm, and you can do this for anything. If you're a dog sitter, if you're a tutor, just think about what makes it difficult to do, what kind of additional things am I adding that add value, and then what are my clients saying about me? So if you want to split your experience into more sections, which I do recommend if you have a wide variety of experience, is to make something closer to work experience, and then either volunteering or you can do extracurriculars. That always shows really good leadership skills. But again, whatever experience you have, you can name the sections accordingly. So let's just do extracurricular outreach for now. You're going to put your title. So maybe you were the homecoming planning committee member. What you want to put here is as many metrics as you can to show complexity. So again, there's a difference between I went to the meetings every week, I kind of did what I was told, to I came up with ideas and I told a couple other people what to do and I personally planned how the night would run. Same thing we did with the babysitter. So what was hard about it? Maybe you had to deal with money and reimbursements. Maybe you had to coordinate a lot of volunteers. Maybe you just had a lot of people with a lot of ideas that you had to help pick one of the ideas. Okay, so we have 3 things that were hard to do. We're gonna build our bullets based on that. If your school is okay with it, if it's not a big secret, try to see if you can actually list out the budget you had. So you could say, managed an event budget of $2,000 and led the reimbursement process. Notice how this went to another line. If we were doing the final review of this, I would probably try to reword this so that it's on one line. Next, coordinating a lot of volunteers. Collaborated with a team of 8 volunteers. Always helps to show the size of the team because that just means that you had to work with a lot of different opinions. Now, this bullet right here is only crossing half the page, so I always recommend going at least 3/4, if not the full width of the page. What that means is we need to think of something to add on here. To create an event for 1,800 students. Boom. More numbers, more complexity. Everything's great about that. Final item. This might be a little bit harder because narrowing down ideas might have been a regular thing that was happening. Is there anything you did that made it easier to decide? Did you set up a voting protocol every time that people had conflicting ideas? Did you come up with any type of process that improved it? You might scrap this whole narrowing down ideas and think of something else that you did. What about next year's committee? Do they now have a packet of information they can use? Did you create that packet? If so, that's really awesome. I'm actually going to make that the 3rd bullet. Created transition packet, useful information for future committees. I would love seeing something like that. Okay, so with a little bit of editing, a little bit of finessing, you've just created your high school resume from scratch.